It felt like the Seattle game all over again in the first half. We dominated, but no early goal. But even though the game felt the same, it definitely ended differently because SDFC came away with the win 2-0 versus Austin FC. And most importantly, they took all 3 points so they can maintain pace at the top of not only the West, but the top of the MLS. I'm Mike Geo, and welcome to the Penalty Kick Podcast. SDFC really had one of the best games of their entire year. They got what they deserved, unlike last game when they played against Seattle. And I'll bring up the stats from the Seattle game in Matchday 16 and this past game, Matchday 17, against Austin FC. The stats show the game was decently similar as far as the numbers, right? Possession, roughly the same as last game. Shots for both games, really similar. And the XG, especially for the opponent, was nearly identical. And also when I was watching the game, especially in the first half, one of the big things that I took away was we were better. We dominated. We had great opportunities. I mean, Chuki could have had a few assists. I mean, Deator could have had a few goals, and it just wasn't coming off for us. The final third was just not happening for us. And when you're the better team and you don't score goals against an opponent who should not be in this game, that allows the opponent to build confidence. That allows the opponent to build momentum. So the longer a game goes and the better team does not score, the momentum has to be shifting towards the opponent. And again, that's really what I felt like happened against Seattle. It wasn't that Seattle was at any point really better than us. It's just they took the moment that was given to them. And since we didn't score early, it didn't really put that much pressure. They grew into the game. They had a way better second half than they did first half, especially with shots on goal. So I thought, meh, this better not be the same thing as Seattle, because it kind of felt like it. But SDFC really turned the screws on Austin. They continued to put pressure. They continued to take possession, control passing, but also just had great movement and way better opportunities in front of goal. And then it took, of course, a little bit of Chuki magic, Chuki with Luca connecting, and that was all she wrote because Alaski put the icing on the cake. But really, in this game, SDFC just had too much class, too much composure, too much of a will to win, to let the same thing that happened last game. And let's start with the starting lineups. We got to, check in on who Mike Ingvartsen is putting in on these lineups. I think this is the lineup most of us assumed would be starting. The biggest differences from last game: Chuki slots back into the starting left wing spot. Godoy goes back into central midfield. Alvarado was in because Yepe had a suspension because of the accumulation of yellow cards. So Yepe wasn't in, but Alvarado was there. Alvarado had a really good game. I still really liked what he did and what he produced. He's not showing up on tape in any flashy way, but he does a lot of the little things well, especially when we're talking about nipping into tackles, getting the ball, making the right play, the right pass. Yeah, he's been good for me the past 2 games. And then Valakari was still up top, and Verhoeven was in for Willie at the right back position. So I think this is, again, what I assumed would be the starting lineup. I still do have some questions about Valakari up front. Maybe Mike Ingvartsen sees that he just plays better with Chuki and Deator, and so that's why he slots him in to the striker position. Again, he's not a natural striker. You can tell by his movement. You can tell by the lack of runs sometimes. You can tell that he likes to drop into midfield because that's his natural position. So some questions still, but you could see maybe why Mike Ingvartsen will be choosing Valakari over Mighton, because Mighton has had a rough past couple games. He even had a little bit of a rough Austin game, but he grew into the game after he got subbed in, so I will take that. But the way Valakari works with Chuki and Deator, I think there is more cohesion. There is better fluidity. There's better passing amongst those three. And I think the front three actually had a really good game. Even though I wouldn't say Valakari had a great game, he was decent. And again, if he is linking up with Deator and Chuki, maybe that's his main role, and Varis isn't asking him to be a traditional striker, which I don't think he can ask him to be a traditional striker. But today, this game, it was the game of Chuki. And rewatching the game, the more I saw Chuki influencing the game, it wasn't obviously just his goal scoring opportunities. Had a free kick that almost went in, had a couple shots. But for me, it was his movement. It was his spacing. He drifted into the middle. He drifted out wide to find space, because then he could pick up the ball and dribble through the middle, dribble on the wing, and he'd draw defenders in, and then he'd facilitate. He had a great facilitating game this game, and he was playing within the game. You can see Chuki has so settled into this team. He is hands down the leader of this team, but sometimes when you're the chosen leader, it's like, oh, I have to score goals, score goals, score goals. No, he's doing the right things on the field and playing within the game, not playing just hero ball. And it is imposing his will on the game. His will was imposed the entirety of the game. And he had the assist that led to the goal, but he could have had a couple assists in the first half to Dreer, and Dreer just missed a couple shots. So Chuki was the star of the show, even though he didn't get on the goal sheet. This guy is dominant, and he's only getting better and better within this team. And just look at the patience, right? He had this run from, deep kind of, midfield, and it was a long ball, and he takes it off the chest, runs towards the top right of the box. Then he cuts back because he had two defenders on him. The patience, the composure, the thought process to be like, I don't have something, let me wait for backups. And guess who shows up? You have Valakari making a run, which was a really great run. So props to Valakari. And then you get Luca Deator kind of as a trailer in the middle. Perfect pass to Luca, and Luca does the rest by finishing in immaculate style. I mean, just straight class. Place it over the goalkeeper's glove, kind of top right, not in the corner, but top right enough to make the goal. And there you go. That was game. Once you got that goal, everyone kind of knew, okay, this is game. Austin's really not going to have much for us unless they get a scrappy goal of some sort. But I thought, the front three, the offense looked really great today, really composed, moving things from left to right as well, being very patient when they had the ball and not just trying to go for every chance, every shot. So I thought the offense deserves a lot of kudos, because last game I said the offense was out of sorts. They were getting frustrated at each other. I didn't see that this game. And Dreer was a player who I thought was very, very frustrated last game, but this game I thought he played really, really well. You can't really ever knock Dreyer, because this dude hustles. His work ethic is on point. He has tenacity. And if the shot's not going, maybe if the pass is not perfect, you can always rely on him to give you something, always having an output on the field and putting his, imprint on the game, even if he's not, getting goals. But he did have an assist, and he played really well. His movement was really good, even though he missed some shots, and he missed some few sitters, right? There was one really early, I think it was 10th or 15th minute. Chuki gives him the ball. It just goes wide of the left post. And then there was another opportunity where Chuki sends it through the middle. Then it goes through Valakari, and then it ends up with Dreer at the back post, all by himself. Everyone, including Dreer, would have said he would have scored that goal, but he misses that one. But I just thought he had a really good game, made some good passes, and of course had the second assist to Alaski. Just a really good showing from Dreer, even though he doesn't get on the score sheet. Valakari, I still think he's struggling to find his form in front of goal as far as, scoring goals. He had a lot of magic early on in the year, a header I remember off of corner. But should he be in the starting lineup? Could this be the end of seeing him consistently in the starting lineup? And the reason I say that, one of the subs of the day was Ingvartsen. This was an individual that was, the starter to begin the season. He is, a really good player, and he's tall, big, more of a traditional striker. And we saw him sub in, and he almost had a goal, and Dreer almost Dreer did put it on a plate for him, but he just couldn't put the goal away. But he was wide open, 6-yard box, header, and it goes right at the keeper. He should have went back across goal. But, welcome back, Ingvartsen. It's been a couple months since we've seen him play. We need to see how he works back into the team. Is he now going to be the starter? What does that mean for Mighton? Does Mighton not get as much PT? I'm still glad to see Mighton in rotation. Again, he got the sub on this game, and played the Seattle game. So let's see what's going to happen. Again, a little bit more questions around the starting lineup, especially now that we're going to be talking about the striker position, because most of the other positions look pretty gosh darn solidified. So I think the striker position is going to be our biggest question. And you got to question this. Alaski, anyone? Does this gentleman just come on the field and score goals? And I know we haven't per se seen him in a full starting role, and sometimes you're a super sub and you're really good at that role. And being a starting role can completely change things. But he scores again. His movement is so good. He floats to the wing, and with his goal, he was actually dribbling on the wing, then passed it, a little bit inside top of the, right corner box was Dreer, and then he kind of moves and slow runs into some space behind the defense. Dreer does a little no-look slip pass, and Alaski puts it away. I mean, the movement that this, kid has and this guy has is absolutely phenomenal. You can tell he's a traditional striker because he's always making diagonal runs, always putting pressure on the defense. And it is awesome to see that the front three, I mean, let's talk about the 4 or 5, the 6 with Mighton. The front 6 that, got the run, they looked phenomenal. And obviously, I think our defense and our offense has been looking phenomenal. But what we can say about this team for certain, pretty much every time we lose, except for the 3-game losing streak, we went through a really, really bad stretch. But every time we lose, we look really good coming back from a loss. We don't put our heads down. We don't is this going to be the start of something that, snowballs and turns into something bad, which is kind of what happened with 3-game losing streak. But for the most part, every time we lose, we really do bounce back. And I like that. That's kudos to Varas. That's kudos to the squad for having a winning mentality, for getting angry when you lose. I love that. How you respond to adversity means so much, because let me tell you, throughout each and every game, there's going to be a little bit of adversity. Throughout the playoffs, there's for sure going to be adversity, especially when we're talking about different legs, best of 3 series. It is going to be a different beast, but this team is ready for it. And this team is now great on both sides of the ball, on offense and on defense. Defense was a little bit soft early. We were giving up a lot of goals early in the season. We were trying to figure out, the fullback positions, and, even the center backs kind of switched it up, especially when Reyes came in that one game. So we were trying to figure out the back line, but we can definitively say the back line is figured out as of now. And after the 3-game losing streak, we've had 6 games. In those 6 games, we've only allowed 3 goals. Also in those 6 games, we've scored 8 goals. So we're allowing 0.5 goals per game, and we're scoring over a goal in each of those games. That is a great recipe to win games, and that's what we've been doing. And we are a top team in the MLS, period. Done. It's over. No ifs, no ands, no buts. The power rankings sometimes disrespect. I don't even look at the power rankings no more. But if you look at the entirety of the MLS table, no conferences, no East-West, but if you look at the entirety of the MLS table, you can see we're 3rd in the league on points. And in the West, we are 2nd, and we're solidifying as one of the top teams, not only in the MLS, but in the West. As of this recording, we're 2 points behind the number 1 team in the West, Vancouver, but they have 2 games in hand. So we'll need to see what transpires tonight and what transpires moving forward for Vancouver to see if we can catch up on those points, or at least maintain a very close 2nd place. And then right behind us is Minnesota. They're our next MLS season opponent, and they have 30 points, which is the same as us. But the best news about the standings, and such a big win. I said this could be a big win to not only keep pace at the top, but also to ward off the individuals and the teams that are below us for playoff positioning. So the best news is we're currently 8 points from the 7th spot in the West, and that is the last auto entry spot for the playoffs. So we are solidifying ourselves as a playoff team as we head into a 2-week MLS break. Then again, we come back after those 2 weeks and play the number 3 team in the West. And then right after that, the number 1 team in the West, Vancouver, and both are away games. But before that, we do play America in a friendly over the weekend, and I will for sure be there. I will for sure be enjoying the festivities, but the internationally selected players won't be there, but it should be a great time. It should be a great game. And I want to invite one of my great friends, Dimitri, because we want to talk about some of these larger issues about what's happening after the LAFC games, what happened after the LA Galaxy games, the chanting that happened in the first week, and kind of what this means for the club, what this means for the supporter groups that went on, this mini protest, this mini strike, what that means for the club, for the team, for the fans, for all of us in San Diego. It's going to be a really great conversation. He's also going to be bringing us inside news to all things SDFC because he writes for SDFC Nation. He got invited to the SDFC press booths. So I can't wait to have him. We'll bring you that this week. So can't wait to have you. This is Mike Geo with the Penalty Kick Podcast. I'm out.